For the first time, the terror of Jaws will not stop at the edge of the screen. Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3, otherwise known as Jaws 3D, was released to theaters in the summer of 1983 to, let's just say a negative response. Yeah, that's putting it nicely. It's a shitty movie, that's just a fact to anybody that's seen it, but I still consider it a guilty pleasure. I can pop my copy in and watch it anytime and have a load of fun, but for all the wrong reasons. But did you know that when the idea for a sequel to Jaws 2 was being conceptualized, the idea to make the third entry in the Jaws series a comedy was actually brought up? 3 years earlier, in 1980, Airplane, which is arguably one of the greatest comedies ever made, was a massive success in theaters. So the producers of Jaws and Jaws 2, David Brown and Richard Zanuck, thought to themselves, hey, we can cash in on some of that comedy money. So they contacted Maddie Simmons, who at the time was the publisher over at National Lampoon and also the producer of Animal House, with the idea of turning Jaws 3 into a parody, a National Lampoon parody to be exact. Some fairly big names started getting attached to this thing as well. Hired to write the movie's script alongside one of National Lampoon's writers, Todd Carroll, was John Hughes. Yes, the very same John Hughes who directed Pretty in Pink, The Breakfast Club, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Damn. On top of that, Joe Dante, who had just recently directed the 1978 Piranha, which was in of itself pretty much a Jaws ripoff, was hired to direct what was now being called Jaws 3, People Zero. Not gonna lie, whoever came up with that title needed to be kicked in the nuts hard. And yes, the finished script is readily available online. It actually got that far. Essentially, the movie would have been about a film crew trying to film a sequel to Jaws in which the shark was an alien, while actually being hunted by an actual great white shark at the same time. Brilliant. There are a lot of the typical parody tropes you'd expect from a movie like this back then. A scene where the great white kills Peter Benchley in a pool, who happened to be the writer of the original Jaws, is in here. Actually, there was a similar scene in the comedy/parody flick Mafia that came out in 1998. Anyone remember that one? Hell, they even had a scene for Steven Spielberg in there, but had the brains to label his character as just director on the off chance that Spielberg didn't want to appear in a movie that essentially makes fun of one of his greatest films. Something tells me he wouldn't have. If you are at all interested in it, I'll link in the description below to the Jaws 3 People Zero script, and you can give it a once-over yourself. It's an interesting read, I'm not gonna lie. In the end, the producers decided that turning Jaws into a comedy was a terrible idea, and the idea was scrapped. Jaws 3D was released instead, followed by Jaws the Revenge, both movies being such pieces of shit that they border on parody themselves. Ironic, isn't it?